Hey everybody, you're watching the Web Retriever and this is another episode in our series, 5 Minutes Tech Topics. Today, we'll be talking about JSON Web Tokens, what they are and what they're used for. JSON Web Tokens have their pros and cons just like anything else, but we will be talking about them in future videos. In this video, we want to mainly address the what. So what are JWTs used for? JWTs are widely used for authentication as they can represent a logged in user. They can also be used for authorization and for exchanging extra information. This is done as information can easily be enclosed in a JSON object and passed as part of the token, hence the name JSON Web Tokens. But what are JSON Web Tokens? In all honesty, they're just a string of characters. However, these characters have a certain meaning associated with them. We'll get to that later, but let's first take a look at what logged in really means. When we think about a logged in user, what does that mean? It really is a way for the server to be able to identify a logged in user using some previously given credentials, like a username and a password. In addition to that, we also need to make sure that the information given is valid, so that no one can simply change the information in a token and claim that they are someone else, or claim that they are an administrator, for example. Let's look at a concrete example here. I have a login endpoint which receives the username and password given by the user, of course. I query the database to see if a user with that username exists. If not, an exception is raised. If the user exists, we proceed to verify the password. If that is also successful, we create a JWT with the user's ID in the payload and set the token in a cookie before returning a success signal. A cookie is used so that a token will be sent by the browser automatically on subsequent requests. If you don't know what a cookie is, don't worry, I'll make a video in the future about it. And now if you want to make sure that a user is logged in before accessing a certain route, all you need to do is to get a token from the cookie sent by the browser and ensure that the token is valid. The details differ according to the libraries used, but the idea is to have a secret key on your server, which the server, and only the server, is able to use to generate a token, as well as to verify. This means that no one else can generate a token that your server verifies as valid, and no one else can successfully verify a token that your server has generated. So take great care of protecting a secret key if you don't want to get hacked. Now that we understand how the big picture works, let us take a look at how the secret is used to ensure integrity and what a JSON Web Token is. On the left, we see a bunch of characters which represent a JSON Web Token. On the right, we have some decoded information from the JWT. As you can see, there are 3 parts to a JSON Web Token: the header, the payload, and the secret. The header represents some meta information about the JWT, like the algorithm used, for example. The payload is the information we wish to transmit from our server to our client. In this case, we have our subject ID and the name Go Web Retriever. And last but not least, we have the secret, which I have as my very secret here. Before we dive into how this random string authenticates a user, let's understand what the secret does. To understand what a secret does, let's tamper around with the JWT itself. I changed the last character from an I to an A, and as you can see, the signature is now invalid. Alternatively, if I change the secret from my very secret to hacker secret, it changes the entire JWT. Another example here, let the payload have the role of admin initially. And if I change it to not admin, like this, the JWT changes. Now let's quickly recall the three examples we just saw. No matter if we change the JWT itself, the payload, or the secret key, the resulting JSON Web Token is either different or has an invalid signature. This is very useful because we know that the JWT that the client gives us cannot be tampered with, or else it will just be shown as invalid. That is how we can authenticate a user with JSON Web Token. In future videos, we'll talk about why and when you should use JWTs and why and when you should not use JWT, with some suggested alternatives. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe. It will greatly support the channel, and I'll see you next time.